All right, folks, we are back with another episode of Storyalysis.
Yeah. What is this, Pierre? This is different. Well, it's been a long time. When's the last time you did a poem?
Like 4 scores and 20 years ago. The poem's been a while. If you're hearing this for the first time, I drew a whole list. We started, but then Christian threatened to quit the podcast, so we had to give him endless anime.
Endless anime.
I don't know. But I had to put my foot down, folks, and say, this is it. You know, this is the hill I'm going to die on. We have to do this. And after hours of tongue lashing and breaking me down, like my self-esteem is shattered, it's fitting that Christian chose this poem for us to do, just to reflect,
Wow.
to reflect the mental state that he's been constantly putting me in.
Damn. I'm the villain.
Oh, yes, Christian. You're the boy who was manufactured incorrectly. And all these flaws, nobody checked them. So you just see shit to take, Christian. You just see shit to take. You fucking burn down the village. Anyway.
Damn. Spoilers.
No. But all serious note, this is of course Pierre chose this. I'm the poem guy. I've listened to this poem over 50 times. This has been my top 10, especially I'm a guy.
Over 50 times? You sure you're not exaggerating?
I'm not exaggerating. I was obsessed with this poem at one point.
So you can recite it by heart. Is what you're saying.
I cannot recite it by heart, Christian, unfortunately.
After 50 times? That sounds
It's a very
like
short
a
poem.
lie.
Christian, 7 minutes can seem like 30 seconds if you're enjoying it. But
That's true.
for some of us. Yeah, but in all fairness, I don't 100% agree with this poem. And I'll leave that till...
Really?
Yeah. I'll leave that till we're... I know.
Controversial.
Of course.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean,
Is it
dude, you know
finally
me, right?
time to cancel Pierre?
You can't cancel someone who's not famous, Christian. I am a nobody.
So we're both nobodies.
I know, right?
So.
But, yeah, there's some things I don't, but I'll leave that to the end. For now, I'm just gonna literally just take this as it is, admire it for the art that it is, because this is poetry. We're about to hear some deep shit. Mental health and men. Do you remember, I texted you too, right? When I suggested for you to listen to this poem, I was like, mental health and men, in my opinion, of course, is either under-discussed heavily or just mocked. How I feel. Someone else might say that's different, but just through my lenses. So to see this guy capture the side effects of poor mental health within men, because that's his audience for this poem, that's what it's directed towards. I thought it was beautiful, very deep, and I can relate to some of those stuff. But yeah.
Well, that sounds splendid to me.
Okay, Christian.
So, shall we begin?
Let's do it. This is Teach a Boy to Cry. The link will be on, like, for the YouTube that we dropped, the link will be there to check it out yourselves. But yeah, from Voices in Power, Teach a Boy to Cry by TSleeveless. All right.
Here we go.
Do my best, dog. What up, Philly? My name is TSleeveless. The number one hardest thing we all have to do as humans in this world is be subjected to the evil and remain good despite the bullshit we go through. I'm a mental health poet, to double tap on the last two poets. Mental health is everything. It don't matter what situation you're in. You can have everything going perfectly fine, your finances, your house, whatever the case may be. If your head is not on straight, nothing else matters, dog. So tonight, I write a lot of mental...
I just want to touch on that real quick. I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, especially because, for like 4 or 5 years, I dealt with this like really bad congestion.
Yeah.
And during that period of congestion, I remember it sabotaged my ability to think. And I just kept dwelling on that. Because whenever I saw examples in the world of people who were incredibly horrible situations, like I saw a girl get her arm chopped off, yet she was still happy and living life because of the perspective she had after her arm got chopped off. And then I see there's a bunch of stories of people that are able to essentially outthink their way out of like really rough situations. So to be in a position where I couldn't outthink my way out of something, it just, that line in particular from him before even the poem starts, it did resonate with me pretty deeply, because I always think about that. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, folks don't know, but I knew, because I got the fucking... I wasn't with you in that darkness, but I got a front seat view. You would tell me things that these folks don't know, so yeah, it's crazy, actually.
Yeah, you saw the worst of it.
I know, right? And it turned you into a monster, Christian. But anyway, hit play.
All right, here we go.
My mental health poetry tonight. I wrote a piece for the men. You know, as a man myself, you know, I was subjected to a lot of like emotional brutality just growing up, and the hardest realization I came to is that nobody really gives a shit. So this is just a piece for the men. This is called "Teach a Boy to Cry." People think the deconstruction of a man is some loud, violent occurrence, this outpour of bitterness towards the world, and in reality, the deconstruction of a man is a silent film, a common surgical procedure that the world didn't know it was trained to do. The breaking of a boy is the world's quietest natural disaster. As a man, there is no such thing as being stuck between a rock and a hard place. You either use the stones at rock bottom to build a way out, or you get buried by them. Ain't nobody coming to save you.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause it here. The metaphor, his usage of the metaphor like a quiet, natural disaster, it reframes an emotional collapse as something catastrophic and almost inevitable. Yet at the same time, it's unnoticed. And it's like the way he turns practical wisdom into a harsh truth. So it's like a man must build from pain or be consumed by it. And the brutal way that he ends it too is he says, "Ain't nobody coming to save you." It strips away any hope of rescue from this dark place. And it's a gritty and unsentimental line, but undeniably beautiful in the way that it's being said. And I really liked specifically when he says, "You either use the stones at rock bottom to build a way out, or you get buried by them." I love that.
It's a cold world. It's either you come out on top or don't come out at all. Yeah, or just fail. Yeah,
just
that is
the
true.
imagery of being stuck at the bottom and you have to claw your way out. It reminds me of
Vinland Saga, Thorfinn.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that right away. It's insane, and a silent film. Like, this isn't quick, right? People think that this happens. It's just a loud, violent occurrence. Like, no, it's a creeping erosion. Like, this build up over time of poor training, of neglect, of a bunch of things that he's going to get into. As in, this could have been avoided because this was a very lengthy process. But it's from not being overshadowed, not being tended to, cared for, that leads to this product. But yeah, some crazy shit.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
The entire world is trying to construct you into its perfect little image, and the people around you are the ones who fuel the process of your manufactured masculinity. Some of us are going to make it through assembly, but we need to watch out for our defective counterparts because the whole world is going to use their flaws to define all of us. Luckily, most defective product is aware of its own shortcomings and tends to destroy itself given enough time alone with its imperfections. This abridged explanation of the process is how you become a man or a monster. Everybody knows what a monster does. Everybody judges the monster. Nobody questions its creator.
It's I love the scheme, the manufacturing scheme. Like, I'm like in supply chain, right? If you think of anything that makes its way to the consumer's home, right, and you need the raw materials, it needs to go through production, manufacturing, shipping, all of that, and he's taking you into the different stages and how, if it's picked up of the flaw, then maybe it might be good. If not, it's just going to keep going. Like manufactured masculinity, some of us are going to make it through assembly. As in, you're actually going to make it through the shelf, okay, but we need to watch out for the defective counterparts. Like, you need to constantly do these self-analyses, because you don't have an adult. Because there's this whole poem, right? He's going to finish this all the way. It's just the result of, like, neglect or poor display of affection or no display of affection. But since you don't have someone to check on that and give you these tools, you need to look from within and pick up on your flaws. Like, you need to watch out for your defective counterparts. Because the whole world is not going to tell you, oh, hey, this is bad, let's straighten it out. No, they're going to amplify that. They're going to scream out oof, that's Drake. They scream out my failures and whisper my accomplishments. That's Drake. But something along those lines. As in, you need to always be vigilant about yourself, because the world is just going to expose you for the bad that you are, which is only going to result in you being more bad, because that's a terrible reception from your consumers, the people around you, your watchers, because the whole world's going to use your flaws to define all of us. And then he said, of course, luckily, most effective product is aware of its own shortcoming and tends to destroy itself, giving enough time alone with its imperfection. It's like, sure, you got to look for yourself, that's true. At the same time, if you don't pick up on that flaw, that flaw will linger so long that you will self-destruct. It's a double-edged sword. It's a lose-lose situation anyway. So you either become a man where if you're fueled up correctly, you make it through assembly, or you turn into a monster, meaning you slowly self-destruct because your flaws who've left unchecked for so long is starting to expand. Some crazy shit.
Yeah, it's a chillingly elegant way to describe isolation and just a quiet despair.
Yeah. No, I love schemes. So artists do this well too. Like Lupe Fiasco does this well. There's a John Legend song. So a scheme version, you know what a scheme is. Like the manufacturing scheme that you just used. It's a whole double entendre of a part going through these different steps, which is the boy or the kid. So like John Legend have this song, Slow Cooker. The whole song is a scheme of cooking, but it's a love song. Like our love been through some more. Like our love is worth fighting for. Just let it stew some more. Bring out each other's flavors. The whole song is just metaphors of like love, but cooking things. So that's I love the manufacturing scheme. I love when artists do schemes, like say something through a different subject, but they're double entendres.
Yeah, I read this book. It's called, I believe, The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, and he says early on in the book that one of the best ways to explain things that are extremely complicated is to use metaphors, or basically like pictures that are easy to associate things with.
Yes.
So the example he gave in the book is if you say life is difficult, well, that's such a vast...
Broad.
Yeah, the concept of that is very hard to have a single picture to.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say life is like a journey, then you can draw some conclusions. It's like, okay, life is a journey. You're probably going to want to pick up some good travel companions. At times, you're going to come to forks in the road where you have to make a decision, and then you're going to want to enjoy the journey prior to getting to the destination. Like you can draw all these kinds of inferences on what life entails through the picture of a road. So using the metaphor of like a factory is it's a perfect one too, because it's very cold.
Yeah.
When you think of a factory, it's very mechanical.
Yes.
Very emotionless, and it echoes the whole
Robotic.
theme of this poem.
Yes.
Yeah, that men have to be these emotionless creatures, but
Yes.
or that's the expectation society has of men. Often.
Yes. And factory still, right? What happens when an object is defective? It gets thrown away, Christian. It doesn't receive love and gets like shaped into what it was supposed to be. It gets tossed. That's waste. Another. That's from Thor. He's like another. But yeah, it's we don't plagiarize here. Yeah, we have MLA format citations for everything we say that's not ours. Yeah, that's beautifully done. That's true. Let's power through this.
All right.
Some of us are manufactured to make light of our peril, with jokes, if you will. Male comedians are magicians in this way, how they take their pain and airbrush it into something laughable. Hee, ha, ha, joke about a failed suicide. The crowd laughs, the curtains close, the comedian drinks all the way home. A man's tears are just funny that way. How they have to be translated to be accepted. How they have to be transcribed into an art form to be worthy of observation. How you have to bleed artistically to become a worthy topic of conversation. Fun.
Yeah, this part is deeply poetic. Like, he's again with the metaphors. He's using the metaphor of translation and art to critique how male pain needs to be stylized in order to be tolerated. And he says the phrase "bleed artistically." That's both beautiful and brutal because it's underscoring how emotional legitimacy for men is conditional. It's only acceptable when it's aesthetic. So there's like this quiet fury I feel like is hidden within these lines that he has.
This is true, Christian. This is true. Bleed artistically. He what is it? The brush. And Homeboy said something up there. Yeah, they need how they take their pain and airbrush into something laughable. So it's the same way to tie into what you just said. Bleed artistically, right? You're finding the only way to voice your pain is by embellishing it and turning it into art that's comfortable to ears, that's enjoyable to ears. Like meaning you have to reconfigure bad things for the output to not be judgmental. Funny is good. I'd rather you laugh at my pain, Kevin Hart special actually, laugh at my pain than openly criticize me. So for that reason, let me turn something that's bad that I don't even have control over, right? Because this is all just emotions boiling inside, because all these things get bottled up. You compartmentalize them as much as you can, but they will come out. Like you will erupt your fucking volcano. So let me make comedy out of it, which is so true. Like, I don't know if it's them. I don't know if it's their managers. I don't know if it's the industry as a whole that have put male comics and female comics, or comics, comedians who are guys and comedians who are women, into these boxes. You'll see most women comedian will sexualize themselves, or talk about like sex a lot, getting fingered by this guy, or my fucking vibrator. It's sometimes I'm like, is it them or is it what their manager in the industry, if that's what the demand is? And you'll see guys really do embellish and deliver their painful stuff with humor so people can laugh. Like, I was watching this thing by Chappelle Lacey, 3 Dads, 2 Moms. Like the skit was hilarious, all 30 minutes of it. I'll send it to you, Christian. It was fucking hilarious. But at the same time, this guy's talking about how he was abused as a kid. Like, this guy was beat up so much that he left his house, put into a foster home, like was giving to some other parents, his adoptive parents. He later met up with his biological dad, because it's 3 dads, 2 mom. Like Jerry, his real dad, and the white dad he lived with. But it's like, people are laughing at this. I'm like, the delivery is funny, but nobody's like, this is trauma. Like, no one in the audience is like, this guy actually went through a lot of shit. But it's normalized as male comics to comedians to talk about shit they went through.
Yeah. I just finished reading the book that Matt Rife, the comedian, he wrote.
Okay.
It was a biography, or I forget if it's autobiography. Whatever it is, like when you're the one who's writing it.
Autobiography.
Autobiography. Yeah. And he touches on this, but I forget the specific phrasing he used, but the essence of what he was saying is that there's a power in being able to take something traumatic and then being able to add humor to it. So he sees it more as a therapeutic event rather than like an industry sort of coaxing him to do it, if that makes sense. And I feel like because I've watched interviews with comics. Like, there's this comic roundtable where a lot of famous comedians would sit and talk. There's one that Matt Rife was on it too. This one comedian, his father died. This other comedian,
yes, Pete Davidson died. Lost his dad 9/11, I think. Yeah, and he jokes about that.
Yeah, and a lot of them seem to echo this sentiment that we joke about these things to take away the pain from them, and as a way of like getting control over the grief, in a sense. So I do understand where TSleeveless is coming from. That these like hee ha ha moments, as he described it, it can be tragic, but it could also give a lot of power to the comedian at the same time, depending on the perspective you come from.
I love that. I love that. That is true. Yeah, because one of the biggest ways to break down something is voicing it out. Yeah, you have to, I have to vocalize it. Yeah, because hitting inside, that's when the power stays in. That's where depression got the wheel, But when you're able to put it into words, A, make fun of it, B, that means you lessen its importance to you, that you're able to deliver it in a funny manner. Okay, I like that. That makes sense. But still, though, the consumers too. Like, why have we, on our end, normalized this, right? Like, why has no listener ever said, listeners probably have, but just not strong enough of a group to make wave into this industry, to shift this, like, set in stone narrative that take your pain, make it funny, make us laugh. I was laughing, but I was still like, bro, that's weird.
It's funny because I keep bringing up Matt Rife because he is the comedian that I've been paying attention to the most lately. But he does extremely edgy jokes, and like in his shows, he's the one that's like pushing the boundary, and he's the one that's trying to, like, he'll make jokes about school shootings. He'll make jokes about like I know he caught a lot of flack because he made like an abusive joke. Not abusive, like he was making a joke that touched like relationship abuse in the beginning of his Netflix special. So I know he got a lot of flack for that. But in a lot of his shows, he'll say a joke and then he'll be like to the audience, "Man, you guys aren't fun." I say one little edgy joke and everyone gets all quiet. Like, he'll say things like that. But so it's just, there are some comedians where like they seek out like the edginess, like the raw edginess that even a crowd would be like, "Whoa, that's kind of deep. That's kind of, should we laugh at this? Is it okay to laugh at this?" Like that kind of scenario.
Dave Chappelle does this too, actually, just so you know. Like, yeah, extremely like push. This guy pushes the bar to getting canceled another step every time. Which I love Dave Chappelle. I've seen all of Dave Chappelle's skits, even, and I'm glad Netflix picking back up. And well, his career was not dead. Like, he chose to reject money and remained, I don't know, his way, have some control over his work. But as in lately, he's been having more and more Netflix specials, although they've stopped in the past year or so. But yeah, he too is extremely verbally comfortable to a wild extent that he's known for. Yeah, him and Matt Rife might be uncancelable at this point. It just depends. If that's who you are, you just become accepted. And there's so little of people who refuse to. Even Last of Us, how we spoke about, right? How it might be because the writers are trying to placate different groups who have an opinion. There are so many people who can remain true to themselves and be vulgar, which is not a good thing if you think about it. But in comedy, you do need that sometimes, because that's the same way it's a gateway for these guys to voice out their trauma in a funny way. It can be the same way too. Someone can pose some very debatable and questionable and crazy shit. Yeah.
And this is the last thing I'll say, because I know we need to continue. But there's another section in his biography, Matt Rife, where he says that as a kid, him and his friends would always make fun of each other. Like, they would hit, like, really deep. Like, they would say some stuff that is, like, for example, one of Matt's really deep insecurities as a kid was his teeth. And his friends would always poke fun at his teeth, and then he would hit back at, like, some insecurity of theirs. But his perspective on it was their love language. Like, it's how they expressed, like, that they cared about one another. Because it's like, this is your flaw. I'm going to bring out your flaw in the light, but I still accept you for who you are. Even though you have this, like, really huge imperfection about you. Yeah. So that was his perspective, and I think it's a beautiful one to have. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna we're not gonna move. We're gonna move, and I'm gonna finish off what you just said. One of my boys went through a crazy breakup. His girl cheated on him, and started off as a joke, but this is how we are. We do constantly make fun of each other of, like, crazy things that people should not make fun of each other for. Like my dead grandma. Sometimes they'll make fun of my dead grandma, which is weird if I'm voicing this out. But anyway, to go back to him, who got cheated on, we made fun of this so long that you never know. Like, some nights, like, when she would come back to work, like, walking all wobbly, she might have been getting drilled. We never know, that guy might not have been. Anyway, shit like that.
Yeah,
but
you're right. You do have that comedic, like, that comedic eye where you view things through the lens of comedy. That's true.
Yeah, but that has helped me a lot, unfortunately. Fortunately for me. So it is lesson blows of things that should hit deeper. Now, by voicing it, making fun of it, like ridiculing it, we've managed to make it seem less of a thing. So now that friend who got cheated on years later, we make a joke about his ex-girl, we will all laugh, including him, where he will be pitching in like, oh, she probably did that. Because, we don't fucking have therapy as, like, young, broke black boys. At the time, Pierre's doing fine financially now. Yeah. But yeah, it's so that helped us cope with so much shit, man. Yeah, just making fun of each other for dark things, for things that we actually needed help for, but we didn't know better.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, some crazy shit.
All right, let's continue.
Yep.
Funny how we can joke about a man's misery, but nobody taught the boy to cry. But they taught him how to fight. Nobody took him in at night, so he doesn't sleep at night. Nobody offers protection to the protectors. Nobody provides the providers with provisions. Nobody looks after the overseer. Nobody has ever tried to guide the man who steers. Everybody judges the weak men. Nobody checks on the strong ones. Only other men know how subtle a difference before the transition. Nobody.
Okay, quickly, I'll touch on this. I love this list of things that boys never received, or that men don't receive. The repetition of nobody, and then the way he follows it up with, like, nobody provides the providers with provisions. Nobody looks after the overseer. Yeah. Nobody ever tried to guide the man who steers. These are very, this rhythm, it's elevating these mundane, well, not mundane, but it's elevating these concepts into something that feels very mythic. I don't know if that's the word, but it's just it's elevating it to this very grand vision of these of like how strength becomes a prison, basically. And the beauty in this is how, like, the tenderness that underpins every line. It's like a love letter to the unloved. But I just really loved how he structured the flow of this part. It was very beautiful.
That is true. Also, another thing too that this part highlights very well, they're all a bunch of one-sided transactions, right? Nobody offers protection to the protectors. Meaning, okay, this is male driven, right? He said it in the beginning. So guys are protecting. Nobody's offering them protection. One-sided. Nobody provides for the providers. That the guy was waking up at 6 a.m. to feed his family. Nobody's providing for him. Again, you might have a lovely wife who's also doing the same thing. That's where I think that poem gets a little controversial. A bunch of different. When we get to the end, I'll say my piece about the contradicting things that I think. But if we're focusing here, right? Nobody provides for the providers. Nobody looks out after the overseer. You know, the guy who's standing on night watch, watching over his family. Like nobody's watching him. You know, it's like life is supposed to be a set of balances because we're imperfect. You know, we're not gods. So for that reason, we will need someone to complement us in ways because we can't do everything. We're not omnipotent. Yes, we're not omnipotent. So these are just one-sided sacrifices, or sacrifice is a bit harsh. One-sided tasks, one-sided responsibilities, where no one else is doing for them. And he does that beautifully with the repetition of the nobody does and watch overseer, provide for provider, just protect the protectors.
Well, you know, I guess what's also interesting about this, and this is where like I would kind of interrogate this section a little bit more, because nobody offers protection to the protectors. So like, for example, one of the things, part of what it means to be strong is doing things that not a lot of other people could do.
Right.
So we're being willing to do things that not a lot of other people would do. So like if you have a family and you want to protect them, it's like let me phrase it a different way. Like, if a man is protecting his family, his wife could provide a different type of protection for him in being like very nurturing and loving towards him.
Correct.
You know, because the way this is being phrased, it does sort of give this sense that the protectors have no other kind of option,
right,
for receiving for receiving protection.
No, that's true. That's true.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Of course, you're echoing my sentiments. That's what I said. Yeah, like some men have a good woman to balance them out. But I don't think it's a men and woman thing that he's discussing. I think based off where he's taking us through this poem, he is referring to parental care, like a mentor, a father for those guys, like not his wife to also nurture and protect him back. But he grew up. He wasn't raised. For that reason, there's no old man, there's no Morgan Freeman from Shawshank Redemption to speak with him. He doesn't have a father figure, a mentor, which all men need. Because, okay, as much as these, which we don't abide by, which is good, right? All this toxicity that's going on, this high value men, independent women shit that's going on in this world, right? It's, there's a bunch of things these motherfuckers say that are straight up just trash, in my opinion. But at the same time, things like, it's not every struggle that you can bring to your wife. You know, just like things like there are some things you actually need an older, wiser man as a man to talk to about them. Yeah, I think that's where he's basically going into when he says this, because I too questioned it at first, but because this poem is not about married men. This poem is about broken men, which the process started in their youth as boys, but the defects lingered. Nobody picked up on them, and it only got more crooked and worse, and so they became a menace to society. I think. I think, right? Just this is all subjective, but yeah. He does. I guess it would have been. I've viewed this entire poem as him talking about boys that grew up in rough situations, like you were just mentioning. Yeah.
But his wording does sort of put all men under this umbrella. If it's like, some of them got pretty lucky with getting good mentors and all that kind of stuff. But I get the soul of what he's saying. So yeah, but okay, let's move on.
Let's go.
Nobody taught the boy to cry, so he would do it at all the wrong times. In the barber chair, getting casket sharp, remembering the funeral of a failed relationship. In the grocery aisle, breaking down because he's weighed down by the tears collecting in his baggage at a soccer game, remembering what it was like to be a boy running towards a goal. Most men will only experience unconditional love from their mothers, and some of us don't even get that. Most of us have never even felt appreciation or respect without conditions or hidden intentions. We don't know what it sounds like to hear, "I see you, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're here." You really make a difference. Yet the expectation is to constantly be displaying the strength and love that the world is hesitant in conveying. We're expected to have a thick skin, but get judged if it turns to a hard shell. The first step.
And real quick, I like how here he's saying most men. Right? So now
yes.
he's being a little more specific about what
Yes. Yes. And of course, right, because this whole thing is a sequence. Well, the previous stop we just did was just the one-sided transactions, the deficiency of someone to do what I'm doing, someone to help me, right? The deficiency of someone actually recharging me from my responsibilities when I'm need charging. I'm not wording this correctly. But anyway, now he gets into the side effects of not being loved. The boy who's just crying at the barbershop because he can't cry, right? Because the world is telling him that, hey, you're not supposed to do this. For that reason, tears come out at random moments. Like there's outbursts of emotion that he just can't control. At a soccer game, just breaking down. At the grocery aisle in the grocery store. Like because you're not therapized to properly convey the things that you're feeling. For that reason, they come out at random occasions and you don't have a grip on them. Like because of all of that. It's fucking like insane. Like most men will only experience unconditional love from their mothers. Aside from that, everyone else will give you love, but it'll just be a transaction. It's for a reason. Like there's conditions. There'll be hidden intentions. Like that is just some crazy shit. Like from not being nurtured with love, you're expected to have a thick skin. Of course you will, because your origin story, you weren't nurtured. At the same time, you'll be judged when that thick skin turned into a hard shell. So you're expected to demonstrate something you never received. You never received affection, but when you have your son, when you have your wife, you're supposed to be a loving husband. Like, you know how hard that is, right? You're supposed to give something you don't have, and you'll be judged harshly for it. That's a fucking paradox. That's a mission impossible. But it's some crazy shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and the hypothetical affirmations, I see you, I'm glad you're here. They feel almost holy in their absence.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like he invites empathy without ever begging for it. So the language is simple, and in that simplicity lies this immense power. So, but
because it's true.
Okay. On we go.
Step in being a man is ignoring the hunger. Because yes, boy, you're going to be starving. Starved of attention, starved of affirmation, starved of love, starved of being told that you are enough. Step 2 in being a man is comfortability with replaceability. You are only as good as you are useful. You are only as valuable as you are needed by others. Should there ever come a day, boy, where you fail to provide everybody with a smiling face, then do not be surprised when they say all men do is take up space, and you are swiftly replaced. Step 3 in being a man is overcoming your fear of the fire, because almost everything you will ever try to build will go up in flames. Relationships, careers, hobbies, and yes, you are always to blame. Step 4 in being a man is understanding by the time you finally get all the right answers, these questions will have already changed. You might achieve the strength of Herculean fiction, trying to balance the weight of all these contradictions. Be a man, they say. Definition unknown. Description keep changing. We men, so empty, so irritable, so this, so that. We get told where we are so much we've accepted that who we are ain't even up to us. The blame is always on us regardless. One guilty man's actions requires an innocent man's explanation. Otherwise, you're all guilty by gender association.
Right. So he gave us like 4 steps, right? Like step 1 of becoming a man, to be numb to the pain. Just pain will be there. Just learn to fucking be numb. Like, yeah, you'll be starved. You'll be angry. All these emotions will be there. So bypass them. Because that's the only way. Like, starve for affection, for love. Yeah, get through that. Step 2, know that you're replaceable. So perform. As in, I need to be top tier. Like, I need to be at the top of the food chain within my circle. Like, I need to be the guy. I need to constantly perform. Because I'm in a society, in a game of competition. And the losers get nothing. So I need to be a winner. Like, step 3, deal ahead with the fear of failure. Because you will fail. So for that reason, get acclimated with that. Although you're not there yet, because you're pushing for success. At the same time, maintain a reserve for when that day does come. Because it is. It's closer than you think. So you can know how to deal with that, because it is coming. And step 4, which is crazy, which is so sad, this fight is infinite. There's no cheat code. If you think you've cracked the code, guess again. The answers have changed. Well, the questions or the answers have changed, like he said. So this battle is ongoing forever. You will never win, pretty much. Which is such a dark way of describing the steps, the process of becoming a man. Again, I've mentioned it, I've touched it, but not thoroughly yet, that there's a lot about this poem that I don't agree with. I do love how he wrote it. I do know a lot of people can relate to this word for word, but there are some of those things I'm just like, I don't think so. But we'll reserve that for later, for me.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. It's yeah, these little moments of repetition that he does, it's so beautiful. Like the list of labels, empty,
Yeah.
irritable, it turns into this mantra of shame that yeah, this is it feels like he's I don't know if you know much about this guy, but it does seem like he's lived quite the
This from experience.
tumultuous life.
Yeah.
Or
He
I don't
said
know, 'cause
he's yeah.
yeah, I think you were about to say that he's
In the
he's
beginning,
like-
he said he's a victim
Yeah.
of mental bullying. No, he said he's a victim of something. Mental something. Mental, not mental. The word was an abuse that he's a victim of. But when we finish it, I'll go back to the beginning. And,
yeah.
But yeah, as in like these are his truth. It feels like if this feels authentic. This feels like this man is a survivor of these terrible conditions that he's describing that a boy would go through to become a man.
He made it out of the factory.
Lumen. We just did Severance. Yes, he's Cobell.
All right.
There are 4 times as many male suicidal ideation because it's been hammered in our head that we're falling short of our societal expectations. Imagine being in a world of hurt for 100 different reasons during a nationwide emasculation season. There is a unique grain of sadness that follows being hated without reason. It ain't no secret. While over 30% of us have attempted to stop breathing, nobody even mentions the men who have succeeded. As the saying goes, every failure is one step closer to a successful attempt. There is no such thing as an attempted suicide. A man's soul dies long before his body has a chance to realize. A man with an old soul is just a boy who contemplated going ghost. For every woman that suffers the same fate, 4 men will follow her to the grave. And I try to hide the stats from the poet because he might romanticize them. He might mistake this tragedy for a love story. He might write a poem and place with his suicide notes that were never left behind because nobody taught him otherwise.
Okay. So it gives us the stats, right? 4 times as many male suicides. What's going on? Jesus Christ, I'm dying, Christian. I don't know what's happening over there. Yeah, he's just taking us through the stats. There's a nationwide emasculation season, 4 times as many male suicides. For every one woman who goes through this, 4 men will go through it. And through it, of course, beautiful writing. There's unique sadness from being hated without no reason. Because you're just like, hey, I'm hated, but why? Maybe I could change it, but I don't know. But yeah, a man's soul dies long before his body has a chance to realize. Oof, just like, we're just shells, bro. We're just empty vessels walking at this point because the world has already eaten us. Some crazy shit. And of course, he takes us to the stats, and then he flips back, Christian, to the beginning of how comedians voice their trauma in a comedic way to evoke laughter. And he's like, oh, if I don't bring these stats up, maybe they might romanticize them. They might turn this into art, because he wasn't taught otherwise. Because we weren't taught, well, not we, the victims that he's referring to, these men weren't taught the proper way to process grief, trauma, pain. For that reason, they won't know no other way to bring it out to society that's acceptable than comedy, laughter, or poems. No, it's not a love poem. Like, those stats are just to hearken what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm trying to let y'all understand that this is an issue.
Yeah,
What we've been doing is wrong.
He was getting very meta. It's a poem about the making of poems. By LeBron's.
Yes. But yeah, that's my piece on this take.
Okay. Almost done then. Last
Yeah.
So who's going to teach these boys to cry while they're still alive? A man with nothing to lose will view everything as something to take. A child that isn't embraced by the village will burn the village down. And he will stare as everything that didn't love him back contorts and cracks. He will ease his way into the fire until he finally feels some warmth.
A very cinematic ending. A very tragic one. It's not a villain origin story. It's just an elegy for empathy that was never given.
Fuck, Christian, that's a short. That's gonna be quick. That's gonna be like 5 seconds. But yes, I'm gonna make that a short. That's gonna be like a 10-second short. That's gonna be an extremely short. Oh, that is fucking true. Yeah, because it's not a villain. Like, this man took us through, 7 minutes? Well, minus the intro, probably like 6 minutes and a half of this journey, and he takes us all the way to the end product. If we want to keep it in the manufacturer scheme, this is the product is going to make it on the shelf of the supermarket. To be like, it's not the man's fault. Like, a man with nothing to lose will view everything as something to take, because that product was defective from the assembly line and nobody saw it. A child will burn down the village and ease his way until he finally finds something warm. As the village is burning, he's going to go in there. So that's the self-destruction that he's been talking about. You will kill yourself. Suicidality, I think that's a noun, is something that he mentioned again when he brought up the stats. But even through that process of self-annihilation, it's still longing for love. Like the child will ease his way back into a burning village that he burned down, by the way, because he was never loved, just to feel some warmth. As in, we're still searching for love. Like, no matter how broken we are in this world, right? We're creatures of, we're creatures of companionship. We're creatures, which is why solitary confinement is one of the smartest but evil way to punish someone, because we're meant to be with others. Like, we're meant to have friends, to have relationships. We're meant to be codependent is a stretch, as in you need to have a circle, and for that reason, even though you've never had it, even though you're doing it wrong, you're still longing for it, because it's just how you're designed. So although that child is killing everyone, burning down the village, that child will die too in that fire. But if that's what it takes for him to feel warmth, to feel love, it's irrelevant. But it's just, again, this is what happens when these things were intended to, the child was never cared for. So the ending can only be wrong. And like you mentioned, it is not the origin story of a villain. It is, what is the word you use, Christian? It's what?
In elegy for empathy.
Yes.
I would never get.
Yes, Christian. Yes. Fucking bodied that. Anyway, what's your take on this conclusion before I give my contradicting opinion? Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I did like how, I believe it was the midway point where you started to specify that it was like most men.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was an important detail to throw in there. Well, in the beginning, there were some parts that were a little more general, like you could infer that he wasn't talking about everybody, but then there were more specific lines where he would directly say, like, nobody offers protection to the protectors.
Mm-hmm.
I think a little more specification. Well, not to take away from the poem. It was beautiful, the entire thing. But I think it's important to, like, clarify that this is a specific group that he's talking about. It's a large group. Probably most men deal with what he's talking about, but it's not all men. So, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It feels a little a tad bit unnecessary to bring that up, because I think clearly this is a smart guy. He wouldn't. I don't think he would
generalize.
I don't think he'd be so narrow-minded as to think that every single guy is dealing with this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So, I love it. It was great.
That's true. I like this one too. And you know what? Yeah. I'm gonna retract from going all out and saying no. Yeah, from what you just said, yes. This is obviously being catered to a specific audience, broken, bruised, or men who are battling the things that he's talking about. But yeah, the wording could have been better. Nevertheless, right? Nobody is. That's a father of generalization. Nobody and everybody. But regardless, yeah, it's there's a lot from this poem I'm sure I can resonate with. That's true. And in some sense, like, I struggle with mental health. That is true. And
Me too.
yeah, it's that is true. There's a bunch of these things. Yes, even now, like, I'm 29. I finally have like a therapist, and we're unearthing some shit that I've compartmentalized over the years. Like, I had to, I had to fucking move forward, and I didn't know how to deal with shit. But at the same time, there are good men who will not have to go through such a painful metamorphosis and such a not drastic, but a dark rewiring to become a good man. These 4 steps that he gave us. Be numb to pain. Nah, there are men out there who are very emotionally. What's the adjective that women use these days? I need a man who's emotionally. What's the word? Emotionally blank. I don't know. I can't think of it. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of men who regulate their emotions out there. There's you're irreplaceable, so perform. There are a lot of men who don't buy into that. It's not bullshit, because we do live in a extremely competitive world. Yes, and it doesn't make it better for us, but it's the reality. Women are looking for the best option that they can find to mate with, as anyone should. Can't blame them for that. So for that reason, you are competing with other guys for job promotions. You're competing with other guys for the women that you want. You're competing with other guys for a bunch of things. So for that reason, it is a very competitive and hard world. But to this extent that he mentioned, deal with the fear of failure, because it's closer than you think. Everything you touch will be burned. Like, that's I don't think that's the route for most men. Like, and of course, men who don't have the deficiency that he's referring to, you know, lack of parental support, lack of love during their upbringing. You know, the guys who were raised in stable families or have mentors who took them under their wings from early ages and instill in them core values that make a man. Like, oof, the poem If, Rudyard, what's some boy's name, Christian?
Rudyard Kipling.
Yes, right. All these core values that he listed, we also broke that poem down. The link might be up top. I don't know. Christian knows what he wants these days. Anyway, but yeah, if you're watching this if you're listening to this on YouTube, but yeah, it's there's a lot I didn't agree with. I thought it's too harsh, but I understood. If they are anecdotes, if they are from his personal life, and this is how he made it out, he must have had friends who are in the same situation. And there's no secret that in black people as a whole, therapy was not designed for us. And we've been made to deal with our struggle, bottle it up, and keep moving. We didn't have a choice. We have bills to pay. We have microaggressions to deal with. We have systemic racism put in place. There's just too much for us to stop and think about our mental health. That takes the back seat for a lot of us. But yeah, that's my piece on that still fucking beautiful poem. It resonates with very, like, wow, some crazy shit, man. But yeah.
He's a thinker. He's a deep thinker.
This is true. This is fucking true. But yeah, Christian, what else do you want to say for yourself?
That's good. Over an hour. Definitely.
Over an hour. Great. Well, it's going to be like 30 minutes. He's just going to cut out all my parts. Regardless. He's not kidding. SOS, help. Save Pierre. Y'all don't know what he goes through. But anyway.
It's crazy is they didn't even hear the part where you cry. So I cut that out.
Because he took it out. He robbed you of my pain.
Who is this weak man? This weak man. Men don't cry. What the fuck?
Oh my god. Men don't cry. Yeah, the tears better be tears of joy. And your vocal cords better not shift as they're falling. Keep the same octave, keep the same bass, in your voice, because you know, like, crying will alter how you speak. But if you're a man, Christian, man,
that doesn't affect you.
It doesn't affect you.
You'll stay stoic the whole time.
Oh my god. I'm dying.
Oh,
Jesus.
Better not be suicide.
Oh.
Better not be a suicide.
Okay. This is actually, these jokes we should not be making them. But he means well, I mean well too. That's just how we talk to each other. If you've been listening, you know we say just crazy shit to each other. But which we gotta change at some point. But yeah, I was gonna say, it's like when Thor's died, remaining standing up with all these fucking arrows in his body, Finland Saga Season 1. You gotta stay stoic. You gotta even go out like a man. It's like wild. Anyway, but also, yeah, that episode might be up top, whatever it was when he died. Yeah.
That might be too much of a spoiler.
Oh yeah, it is true. All right, guys, it's been real. I'm going to sleep.
All right.
We good?
All right,
All right, bye.
Right.